Yes, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is for you. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. I am, of course, Savva. This is Stelios from Tottenham Away. And we are here today just for a quick hour and 15 chat about Tottenham Hotspur. Stel, how are you? You well?
I'm well, yeah, I'm good. Good start
Good.
to the week. Feeling chilled and fresh. So, yeah.
Good. That's all we can ask for in life. One thing that I always say, Stel, let's get straight into it. One thing that I always say is it's never dull. It's never, ever dull at Tottenham Hotspur. Now, not normally for the reasons that most clubs are not normally dull when they're signing world-class players and winning trophies, etc. But it's never dull at Tottenham. I want to kick off this show by asking you about, I can sense a huge change in atmosphere, in directions of fans thinking, in happiness in the last 3 or 4 weeks, maybe even the last couple of months. Does that make sense? What's your feeling at the moment amongst the fan base and amongst the football club?
But first of all, I'll make a confession. I made it. Yeah, I actually made it on my channel yesterday, but I'll make it here as well. I'm bored of going to Spurs. I'm genuinely bored of going to. I've felt like that for over a month, but it's not something I really wanted to say because, you know, I get called negative whatever I say anyway and toxic, even though that Wolves game proved everything that you and I have been saying for the last month as true. You know, it's all come to fruition. But I didn't really want to, say to people, do you know what? I don't like going to Spurs. I'm bored of it. Because then people say, oh, you don't support Tottenham. But I sat there during the Wolves game and the guys I go with, one of them turned around to me and said, "You're right." I said, "Man, I'm bored." He goes to me, "Yeah, no, it's not really the best of games." I said, "Mate, I've been like this for ages. I'm genuinely bored. The atmosphere is not anything special. The vibe in the stadium is just, and I'm not enjoying what I watch. I might get a 10, 15 minute period where I think, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then I'm back to sitting down, arms crossed, so I'm not enjoying it, Savva, if I'm honest with you. In terms of what I think,
what aspect? What aspect are you talking about in terms of style of play, general the players you're watching? What is it that you're not enjoying when you're going at the moment?
It's a great question. Well, first of all, as soon as we went out of all the domestic cups in the first round, what are we playing for now? For me, it's a case of I've got nothing to look forward to for the rest of the season. I'm more worried about rivals. I'm more worried about Poch winning the Carabao Cup and Arsenal winning the league than I am about what Spurs are going to do. Right. And I'm being honest with you. I'm saying it. That's exactly how I feel. For me, top 4 means nothing, Savva. I don't care about top 4. I don't buy into the whole, but we need top 4 to attract players. Nonsense. We've attracted better players not being top 4. We need the money. No, we don't. We've got plenty of money. I don't buy into all of that. So it's because there's nothing to play for. So all I'm looking for now is, can I see a plan and can I see a style, a foundation block ready for next season in the hope we back Ange again? And I'm not really seeing much, if I'm honest with you. So I think for me, it's what is this season about in terms of from now to the end of the season, right? Top 4, I don't care. I actually think finishing in the Europa is better because we've got a more realistic chance of winning Europa than what we have the Champions League.
Yeah.
We're not going to win a domestic cup. That was done in January. So for me, it's just a case of at least play some good football and let me see these players gel again so that I can go into next season thinking, right, if we just add 5 or 6 really good players, I can really get excited about this. But I'm not seeing that. And in the stadium, it's weird. It's weird because a lot of fans are moaning about Ange. There's a lot of moans and groans. And that's a big red flag for me. We're going to start moaning about the manager now. After at the start of the season, they all said, patience, it takes time. We're in transition. Ange is an expert at unearthing gems. And, he suits Tottenham because he doesn't need lots and lots of money. Well, can you please stick to what you said then and stop talking about we need better players and that people like Ben Davies are good enough? I'm finding a lot of contradiction in the stands at the moment. So it's not that I hate it, Sav. I don't hate going Spurs because I've got friends there. There's always fans that come up to me and say hello. Oh yeah, you're on YouTube. Yeah, how you doing, mate? There are moments in the game, right? Like the last minute winner against Brighton, that was exciting, right? That was I was jumping up and down like, yes, come on. But in general, for most of the game, Savva, I'm bored shitless. I'm genuinely bored shitless.
Let me ask you, look, because look, I know you saw the video I did yesterday. I put a video out just kind of saying that, look, I feel like Spurs are what I thought they were going to be this year. I said I thought we were going to be sort of 5th, 6th, 7th place. I did think that we'd have a lot of ups, but we'd also have a lot of downs. Do you think that a lot of the kind of grumbling that you're probably starting to hear from people that weren't grumbling before, do you think that is mainly still down to the fact that people actually just went a little bit too overboard about how good we were and how much the gap has been closed between Tottenham and the top three, so to speak? Or do you feel it's just in the nature of what we do? A couple of results don't go our way, the football starts not being great, and that everyone starts going, oh my God, this is rubbish, get the manager out. And I'm not saying everyone's saying that, but do you think that it's people had expectations that were a little bit too high for what we actually are ready for?
100%. I think it was just, and it wasn't just that. It's multiple delusion. First of all, it was we're going to win the league after 10 games. So if that's where your mind's at, there's only one place you're going to go, and that is down, right? We were never going to win the league. Then it's fans, certain YouTubers who post things like trophies are coming. Well, that means for you, your season ended in January when the trophies were officially not coming. Why say that? Why say trophies are coming? Like, give it time. So the expectation was raised, and then it's down again, and then it's the whole look at Ange. Look at the way he's getting the best out of these players. Conte, Jose, Poch couldn't do it. Look at the way Emerson Royale and Ben Davies have stepped up. That was the biggest nonsense you've ever heard, right? We went to the Etihad with Ben Davies and Emerson Royale at centre-back. They got slaughtered for 45 minutes. We got away with murder in that first half. But because we got a draw, and a deserved draw in the end, those 45 minutes were ignored, and the delusion sets in. We've lost 6 games this season, Savva. 5 of those losses, I'm talking about Premier League, 5 of those losses, Emerson Royale and Ben Davies have played. So when you raise your expectation of the manager and what you think he's doing with average players, and then you watch the last couple of games and then you watch Everton, suddenly you're going to blame the manager, not the actual players being rubbish, because you've told yourself, but the manager does great with these players, so it can't be the players, it's the manager. No.
Right.
we weren't doing well with these players.
You think people put the manager on this pedestal, and now that means that when the results actually go back down to what they probably should be, as opposed to the first 10 games of the season, people are then saying, well, it's not the players, it's the manager, because look what he did for the first 10 games of the season, rather than real. See, let me get to this better. Sorry, that was a load of nonsense. I
get it. I got what you said. I understood it. You're right.
I keep using this phrase at the moment of form versus the norm, right? And what I mean by that is I think people took that first 10 games of the season and thought that's what we are now far too quickly. Now, I get it still. You and I both get it. We've wanted success. Every Spurs supporter has wanted success for so long that I get it. The moment something starts looking like it's going well, even if it's for a short period of time, we go, oh my God, we're brilliant. We're better than Arsenal. We're better than Liverpool. We can finish above Man City. Then the moment that doesn't happen and we actually kind of go into what is the norm stage, I think now people are starting to go, oh, the manager's not as great as we first thought, because their expectations of him were too high, rather than actually realizing this is a huge, huge job for him. I'm not going to have a pop at Postecoglou. I can critique some things he does, but this is a huge job that's going to need a long, long time, right?
Well, I think we need minimum 2 more. I said this on a couple of shows yesterday. 2 more big summer windows. I don't think you can really judge Ange until the season 25, 26. I think that's a realistic time to begin to say, look, mate, you've had 3 summer windows. We've brought in 14 first team players, and we've built up a half decent squad and some promising young players. We need to see something now. But until then, but I do have to criticise Ange a little bit as well, Savva. Look, I don't blame Ange at all. Yeah, I don't blame Ange for what's going on, because I've seen this under every manager. It's under Daniel Levy. But if you're going to play Emerson Royale and Ben Davies, then you've kind of made your bed if they underperform, and it's your choice to go to press conference and say they're good players. It's your choice to not usher them out. And if anyone was to say to me, "Oh, but he had no choice," you know, he what else are we going to do? Well, look at the way Eric Dyer was treated. You're not playing. I will play Ben Davies and Emerson Royale at centre back over you, Eric Dyer, because that's how strongly I feel about your lack of quality.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You're happy to push him out, but you're keeping these two, which means either you think they're good, or you really, really have no other options at all. But I find that hard to believe, especially when we spent £30 million on Dragusin. I find that very difficult to believe. So he needs to own that. And as much as I don't blame him for Emerson Royale, Ben Davies, Højbjerg, Skip, Sessegnon, Richarlison being at the club because he inherited them, he's got to take some accountability for Timo Werner and Brennan Johnson, who are so average, it beggars belief how any fan defends them. That for me is the biggest shock. Our fans defending average players like Timo and Brennan. These are players that came in under his watch.
Yeah. No, I agree. Look, for me, I've always said, I think every manager you can criticise. I don't care whether their name is Pep Guardiola, Klopp, Alex Ferguson. You can criticise managers. For me, what I can't understand is I'm already seeing, and it is a minority still. It really, really is a minority. I'm already seeing people that had such high expectations saying things like Ange out, and Ange is on fraud watch, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what? If you looked at the squad at the beginning of the season still, I remember most people were talking about, not most, that's probably wrong. A lot of people were talking about, oh, Kane's got relegation battle. We'll do well to stay up. We'll do well to finish top half. Then we lose 1 game in 6. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's been coming. That defeat has been coming for months, if I'm brutally honest. But all of a sudden, the fan base has gone from title race to, oh, the manager's on fraud watch. It can't be that every game. It can't be from one to the other in like 90 minutes of football. Again, for me, it is people that are overselling how well we've played. Like, I go onto other channels and they tell me, oh, Spurs one of the best teams to watch. And I'm like, not if you support Spurs and you like your blood pressure. Like, you know, it's not. So what is the situation here? Are we where we should be? Is he performing? Oh, is he performing better than he should? Where he should? Below where he should? What do you think is going on?
Well, if you look at the main rivals for top 4, so let's say Newcastle, Villa, Man United, and I would have put Chelsea in there because of it's Chelsea, but obviously they're not this year. Then I think he's overperforming because Ten Hag's been at Man United for over a year. He's already won a trophy. He got them Champions League, so he's proven he can do something. But they're currently playing really badly. Man United are not a good watch on the eye at all.
No, I agree with you. They don't play well, but they win games.
No,
and
they do. Listen, they are getting lucky, and it reminds me a bit like of Spurs getting a couple of lucky wins. And I think they're going to lose games if they carry on like that. It reminds me of us the past 4 or 5 weeks. Aston Villa, I think once Europe kicks in, they're going to have a big task on their hand, especially losing Konsa and Diego Carlos. I think they'll lose more players. They might go through what we went through, where we had these injuries that all started piling up. So when you look at that, and the fact Brighton have got Europe, I kind of feel that to be in the top 4 mix, he is pushing a bit above his weight. But I think the opposition have got more to deal with than what we have, with the exception of Man United. So I think we're slightly above where we should be, but with only one game a week and all our players back now, we should really be looking to get top 4, Savva. But if we don't, I'm not going to hold him against. I'm not going to hold it against him, because the reality is, I don't. You can't expect our best players to perform every single week, right, and not have a down period. And we the whole point of having a bench is that they come on and impact the game. But if the bench can't impact the game, what do you want him to do? If they're not good enough, and like you've spoken about it 100 times. Where's the quality? Yeah, quality. Where is it?
That's the word I use more than any other word. I mean, people look. As YouTubers, we debate things, to the nth degree. But ultimately, when I look at it, and like when I speak to people who aren't on YouTube, and I'm actually having a football conversation, I always say to them, "Look, it's the quality. Quality wins you things.
Yeah.
Quality, and people try and find ways to discount this theory and this player and that club bought this." But listen, the reason why Man City and Liverpool win everything for the last few years is because they've got the best players, right? They've assembled quality squads so that the drop-off isn't such that they're bringing on the likes of Ollie Skip and Royal and Davis. But I want to ask you this. First and foremost, it's a disgrace, by the way, that we've got 240 people in here and 51 likes. That is absolutely atrocious. So sort that out. Please subscribe to Football Heritage TV. Subscribe to Tottenham Away. I think we're both chasing down 14K at the moment. So please get over there and smash that subscribe button for both channels. The result against Wolves on its own, we've seen this many times down the years. We're going to lose games. It's not unsurprising that we lost the game. Do you think this defeat is a bit more spectacular from the point of view that it's been coming for a number of weeks, the football's not been great, and that Wolves are the first team for a while that have actually really, really shown us our weaknesses? Like, actually, taken advantage of it, not just knowing what to do, but actually executing it.
Yeah, 100%. When we played Sheffield United and Brentford, they low blocked us, and it took last-minute winners against both of them. In fact, we were 1-0 down going into the 90th minute against Sheffield United. The difference is both of those teams lost their discipline and they slightly pushed up. If you give us the space behind, then this is where I'll give Ange a lot of credit. We are deadly. Give Tottenham Hotspur space in behind. We will punish you. We are so clinical at it. Wolves, they didn't budge. They were so disciplined for the whole game, and the back five I thought were excellent. Their game plan was compact, squeeze the game deep, don't ever really push up high. Can we get the break? We've got players that can get into Spurs. Let's see if we can find some joy. They needed one real counter attack, and they scored. There was one earlier where I think it was it? There's a player beginning with S. I forgot his name. I think he smashed it straight into Vicario. That could have been 2-1 before. So I think they had two really good counter attacks on us.
Yeah.
And that's what. And that's what
you're talking about. Sarabia.
Sarabia. They stuck to their game plan for the whole game, not just 80% of the match. And you know what? That is the blueprint. That is how you beat Tottenham Hotspur. See, that's or at least get a draw, or at least get a point. That's how you do it.
I was surprised. Like you mentioned the Brentford game there. I was really surprised because the first half I thought Brentford did a number on us. I thought, God, they've worked this out. Second half, I thought they pushed up just 10 yards.
They did.
And I thought to myself, I'm glad they did from a Spurs fan point of view, but I'm sitting there thinking, you're crazy. You know we're going to get in behind you. But isn't the worrying thing for me is every team...
Savva, do you know what it is? Savva, do you know what it is? Brentford made the mistake at 1-0. Rather than being boring and disciplined and sitting deep and sucking Spurs in and trying to get another counter-attack, what they did was they thought, do you know what? Are we going to contain Spurs in a low block for 45 minutes? Let's try and get a second. And that actually cost them. Had they have just said, no, we're going to sit on this 1-0, it would have been a different game in my view. They went for the second goal and it cost them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the key thing for me is, teams that want to dominate possession, as we like to do. We like to have a lot of the football. Now we can have this conversation in a minute about whether or not it's a lot of pointless possession or whatever. But teams that like to dominate possession, the famous Barcelona team that were brilliant in possession, Man City do it, Bayern Munich, their famous team, will always get caught on the counter-attack. So I don't ever expect that to be eliminated. But with that in mind, are you slightly surprised at how naive we appear to be when we're attacking from corners and free kicks, etc., that we know teams will get in behind us, but we haven't done anything to negate that. We haven't left anybody back that says, you know what, I won't go gung-ho, I'll sit back and sweep up. Are you surprised at that?
Well, I don't think that's what happened against Wolves. If you look at their counter-attack, Emerson Royale had a 10-yard head start on Neto. Right? 10-yard head start. Go back and watch the video.
I meant a proper player, though, not Emerson Royale.
Well, he's a terrible player. But as soon as Neto starts running, Emerson's number one decision should be get across. Just get across, because the basics of defending, and I coach this: delay, deny, dictate. Delay the attack, deny him the space, and dictate which direction you want him to go in. Emerson, by not engaging the player and just running side by side with a 10-meter gap, he let Neto run the full length of the pitch. And when I said to Spurs fans, that is 100% Emerson's fault. I don't care if Bissouma's lost the ball 80 yards away from goal. We've got 80 yards of space to defend. Players will lose possession in attack. What? That's it. As soon as we lose possession in attack, there you go, just running on our goal. Emerson failed to shut down the space. And then when he did get close to Neto, he didn't even put a tackle in, and Neto just cut inside. That was the first big mistake. The second big mistake, Savva, is we had 5 players that got back. We were fine. We had a 5 against 3. So if one of our players goes to one of the runners, another player goes to another runner, you've still got 3 spare players. Okay, one goes to Neto, you've still got 2 spare. We had more than enough defenders back. The issue is nobody went to the runners. We were ball watching. 3 players went to Neto. Bissouma lost his runner on the way back. That I will blame Bissouma for. And then the other player, who was next to Gomez, nobody went to him either. So it was almost like Emerson refused to defend, and he's a defender. And the other 5 defenders, they were all ball watching, but they were happy to make a 60-yard run back.
Yeah.
What did you run back for? Like, what was the point of that run back if you're going to let the runners go unmarked?
So let me ask you then.
So it was shambolic defending, but it wasn't the high line. It was just really bad defending in general.
Let me ask you though: look, I think a lot of people say things to me like, "Look, you knew I wasn't enamored with Antonio Conte and that style of play." But a lot of people, for me, seem to be confusing what we're doing now with an attacking team. I think a lot of people keep saying to me, "Oh, we're a really attacking team, which is why we concede goals." I don't see us as I'd love to know your opinion on this. I see us as a team that keep the ball. I see us as a team that have a lot of possession across the back and in front of the opponent's penalty area. But do you actually think we are an attacking team? Because I'm really disappointed in our attacking patterns and build-ups. I wonder what your perspective was.
I think we are an attacking team, but only if the other team also likes to come forward and attack. If a team is a bit more pragmatic, if we come up against a Conte or a Mourinho-esque team, we're clueless. Savva, we're absolutely clueless. You know, when someone low blocks you, we don't know how to attack. Really, when someone puts a low block on you, what you want to do is score the first goal, because then you've got to force them out. They have to come out now, right? So if you don't get the first goal, it's backs to the wall for the opposition, and now you're stuck. Our wing play is awful. Our wing play is. I watched Luton against Man United, and I was more excited watching Luton's wing play than watching Spurs' wing play. Yeah. So for me, that is alarm bells if we're going to play with the front 3, and 2 of the 3 can't even attack the wide areas correctly. We don't take enough long shots to beat a low block. I don't remember how many long range shots we take. I mean, do we ever take them? Maybe one game.
I remember seeing a few pop shots from the likes of Maddison, but no, we don't. You know, when you know, back in the day, you used to have people like Gerrard and Scholes and Lampard. They used to shoot on sight.
Gerrard.
You know, they used to shoot on sight. But the thing for me is, I'm watching.
Savva,
Go.
before what you're saying. So you're saying, are we an attacking team? Against West Ham, the first 30 minutes, against Aston Villa, the first 30 minutes, against Arsenal, the last 15 minutes of the first half at the Emirates, and then parts of the second half, you saw an attacking team. I think we are an attacking team. I think it's work in progress, but it lacks quality.
Yeah.
Not what our fans think is quality, real quality.
Quality.
We do not have players or a solution to beating a low block. So when that happens, then we become this pass left, pass right, pass left, pass right. Oh, the ball's gone out of play, goal kick. And it's like, what is this? Like, what are we watching? So I do get what you're saying. I do understand.
No, listen, I think it's interesting. You've hit the nail on the head there for me. And look, something that I think you and I have both agreed on all season. We don't agree on everything, but we've always agreed on our wing play and our forwards. Take Son out of that equation. Even then, Son has some anonymous games, but him aside, the others, it is really mid-table stuff. It really, really is mid-table stuff with the wingers and the forwards that we've got. And I'll tell you what worried me still is I did a watch-along last night for Everton versus Palace. Now, don't get me wrong. It was a tough game to watch. It was a real tough game to watch. But you know what? In the last 30 minutes, I saw more quality over and over and over again from Dwight McNeil. And I'm not saying sign him, but I saw more quality from Dwight McNeil as a winger to actually get the ball out his feet, deliver a good cross in, or beat a man and whip a cross in than I've seen from all our wingers all season. Now, when I'm having to say people like Dwight McNeil, right, this truly, truly worries me still. When I'm looking at West Ham with better wingers than we've got, when I'm looking at Luton and I'm watching Ogbean and Doherty fly down the wings and I'm thinking, oh, I'd like a bit of that. Surely that's a worry still when we're looking at mid-table to bottom half teams and saying, how have they got better players going forward than we have? Surely that's got to be addressed, doesn't it?
100%. For me, the one thing that I just cannot stand about our wide players more than anything else is the inability to dribble past a man. It's not even, they don't even attempt it. How can you be a wide player if you can't beat your man? 1v1 domination is the key to football. At any point in a match, one player will be up against another, whether it's a striker, a goalie, a wing-back, a winger, a midfielder, a striker versus a defender. At some point, you are in a 1v1 battle. It happens all the time. You've got to be able to dominate your opponent. Ferber doesn't take on a man. Brennan Johnson doesn't take on a man. Brian Gill kind of tries, but he gets blown over by the wind. Kulusevski, look, I don't think Kulu had a good game against Wolves, but I'll give him some credit. The goal he scored is because Kulusevski took on a man. He took the ball off Richarlison, scooped the ball around the player and scored. You see what can happen if you just take on a man. At least Kulu will take on a man, although he's a frustrating winger because he always inverts. He's predictable. But you're right, Savva. Our wing play is so bang average. And I do not expect Timo or Brennan Johnson to suddenly become dribblers because do you know what? That is taught at the age of 10 because it's the hardest thing to teach. They teach that at a very young age. Passing is easy. You can teach that at any age. How often do you see a manager going, look at Ange, he came to Spurs and we're passing. How did they all learn that? It's not a hard thing to teach. Dribbling, if it's not done at a young age, it's too late. You haven't got it. So Timo and Brennan Johnson, for me, we're never going to see them week in, week out take on a man. Maybe in a foot race, when remember you at school, if you never had skill, you just keep it in front of you and just go into a foot race.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If you were quick enough to do it. Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing for me is, and I really want to get your perspective on this and everyone in the chat. By the way, please, people in the chat, smash the like button. Really, really tight on that. We're not even at 100 likes. There's just coming up to 300 of you in here. Smash that like button. And to the 2 people that unsubscribed, boo, you're in denial. Spurs, the thing that I don't understand is if as a team, we're not going to play wingers that take their men on and naturally drift out wide, beat a man and cross a ball. Surely the way to negate that still is that you then have fullbacks that overlap and go out wide. But Spurs seem to have 2 fullbacks that invert, 2 wingers that don't go out wide. So are we saying that Ange's game is all based around everything comes through the middle and nothing really happens for us out wide? Because that's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any overlap really from our wing backs. I'm not seeing anybody get out wide and whip crosses in. Is that what you see, or do you see it a different way?
I think Porro does it once in a while. I think Porro does do it. Udogie, I don't think does it. He definitely inverts. Do you know what? I think one of 2 things are going on, and I hope it's not the first one. Sorry, I hope it's not the second one. The first thing is there's a plan in place with these youngsters they're buying. They've got targets they want, and these are things that will come right over the next 2 years. And then we'll look back and say, right, okay, we just had to get through that season because there was this plan of bringing in the quality. Now we can phase them out. Timo isn't going to be a long-term signing. It's just a 6-month deal. And then we'll look back and say, right, okay, they do get it. What I'm worried about is the second thing that I think might be happening. And that is, I've seen it happen to every Spurs manager. The manager underestimated how good the squad. He's overestimated how good this squad is and the competition he's up against. And the reality check of, I know I've had this conversation with the board and the recruitment team when I came here, but after being here now and experiencing this, I'm not sure that works. And
right.
You know what? This Timo signing isn't the way forward. This Brennan Johnson, I'm praising him. I'm saying good things about him. But you know what? He clearly isn't the answer. The wing backs are a problem. He's now realizing this is a big issue. And quite often managers come in and they think, you know what, I can turn this around. You know, if I just make a few tweaks. And he has made a few tweaks, and we have gone forward in terms of the style of play when it's right, and we are a bit more competitive. But I'm hoping it's not the second one, Savva, where because you know what I've noticed, Ange's press conferences have changed. He seems to be
massively.
He comes across to me different, and I think it's that realization of it. This job's actually a lot bigger than what I thought, and I hope it's not that, because if it is,
it was the next thing I was going to say to you. It was the next thing I was going to say to you. For me, as I said, for me at the beginning of this season, I turn around. I think everyone would acknowledge that I've not changed my opinion on any of this. I don't care if we get Champions League. I don't care if it's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. For me, this year was about, right, let's start making sure that the signings we're making are better than we've made before. Let's implement a philosophy, and let's get a manager that actually stays here for 2 to 3 years, implements something. Then if he goes after 2 to 3 years, he leaves us in a stable position where the next manager can come in and pick up, right? I've not changed my mind on that at all. What I have seen, though, that is concerning me is all of Ange's press conferences, his match interviews, all of these sound bites that we're getting from him now, Stel, seem to be falling into that pattern that we seem to have seen from all the other managers, where at first it was, hey, dream. Like, I'm not saying word for word, but it was fans. Yeah, dream. Why can't we win the league? Dream. Yeah, fans, we should be. Now it's not a miracle worker. I'm not a miracle. And you're like,
yeah. I'm not a magician. I'm not a magician. You know, I'm a football coach.
Exactly. I'm not a magician. Now, have you seen,
that's my worry,
especially his after-match interviews, have you seen his body language, his demeanor? For me, it really seems to be kind of fed up. I don't know if we're just reading too much into that, but for me, he looks fed up.
I think he's tired. I think he's also partly just disappointed that we've lost the game. That's natural to feel disappointed. He's not going to come out and like, yes, okay, we lost. Let me be really hype.
Yeah,
I think it's a bit of that, but I do think the answers changed, and where there might be a bit of tongue in cheek, it's a bit more serious. It's not, listen, guys, I'm a football coach. Yeah, I'm not a magician. It's not delivered like that. It's, I'm a football coach. I'm not a magician. It's serious.
Yeah. It's really
whoa. So, and you're right. You hit the nail on the head. We've seen this behavior before. Like, we've seen this happen. Pochettino, Don't call me manager. Call me coach.
Yeah.
Jose
Yeah.
Mourinho, Daniel Levy. He's a strange man. And I'm not a magician. I'm a football coach. It's no, don't say stuff like that. Please don't say stuff like that because we know where this ends up. So that's my worry. But I think if we don't beat Crystal Palace, that'll be a very, very telling interview, post-match interview.
I mean, we should. Let's be. We'll get to Palace later, but I'll just say right now, we should. That's a game you should be battering. You know, in terms of what I've seen of them and what I watched of them last night, we should be battering them. But look, for me, I think that, you know, a fifth, sixth place finish, I think will be fine this season. I don't have any issues with that. I do want to bring up the league table and have a look at a few things though quickly. If we look at that there, I think we're seeing that the top three have gone. As far as I'm concerned, still the top three have gone. We've got to stop worrying about are we on the coattails of them. City will beat Brentford tonight, and that means they'll be 9 points clear of us. Arsenal 8, Liverpool 10. For me, that's done. In terms of the Villa and Man United dynamic, because I also think Brighton 9 points behind. It's a big swing, isn't it? It's a big swing. They'd have to win 3/4 games more than us in a 13-game period. This fourth place race then between Villa, Tottenham and Man U, how do you see it going? Because Man United are coming into form at the right time, albeit not playing well. Villa are up and down. We're up and down. Do you think that this is our level? Do you think we're better than those two teams? Is there much of a muchness? What do you reckon?
I think the best team out of all of them is Aston Villa in terms of the way they go about their business and the players they've got. But I also think they're very inconsistent, like us. Look, draw, loss, win, Tottenham, draw, win, loss. So there's inconsistency.
Which shows the lack of quality, right? When teams do that, it shows the lack of quality, doesn't it? When you're win, draw, loss, as opposed to the top three you see there, who, other than that loss for Liverpool, is all green.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think though with Aston Villa, Europe will cause them issues. I do, and I don't think Villa will get top four because of it. For me, that's going to be their Achilles heel. So I think it's between Spurs and Man United. Both don't have Europe. Man United still have the FA Cup. We don't. We've got most of our players back, so they almost. So I think it's between Spurs and Man United. What I actually think will happen is I think Spurs will get back into form. And I think going into April, Spurs will be fourth. But when we have that 6-game run of Newcastle away, Villa away, Man City at home, Arsenal at home, we still haven't got the Chelsea fixture rescheduled. You know they're going to put it in that run. You know they're going to do it.
Yeah.
April is where we either completely capitulate or that's where we get top four. April will be the deciding month for us, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
And it will be between Spurs and Man United. I would make Man United favourites, Savva, because they always finish strong, but I'm watching them play. It's not sustainable. The same way we said, is Spurs sustainable? Like for weeks we said, is this sustainable? I think the same applies to them. So
I watch Man U. I watch Man U, Villa, and Spurs, and I think all three clubs have some very good footballers. All three clubs have some very average footballers as well. And I think because of that, what you see is that very kind of up and down form. And that for me is, as I said just now, is the complete difference between the top three and the rest is when you get to this stage of the season, that top three are winning. All right, they might drop the odd draw here, but it's not win, lose, draw, win, lose, draw, win, lose, draw. I think it's going to be a really interesting battle. But what I would say is we're lucky.
Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think we're lucky that Villa have got Europe because for me, what they seem to have, I feel like they've got more of a, I don't know. I feel like they've got more men in their team, if that makes sense. More players that stand up and are counted, that want the fight. When I look at the likes in midfield, you look how tough their midfield is with McGinn, who loves the fight. Douglas Luiz loves the fight. Glenn Kamara loves the fight. You know, that Diego Carlos has been there, seen it and done it. You know, so has Pau Torres and Digne. And I look at us and I just feel like we've put a lot of kind of gangly, skinny kind of players. Do you know what I mean? So I feel we're quite lucky that Villa have got Europe. But I think it's going to be really tough to get top 4. I really do.
I think we've also got a lot of young players in our team
Sure.
who are developing, like Adogi, Van der Ven, Pape Sarr, Brennan Johnson. I also feel that Aston Villa, they've got the most experienced manager as well. Like he's won trophies. He's done it in La Liga. He's done it in Europe. He got Arsenal, a very average Arsenal, to a Europa Cup final. He got them a few points off of getting top 4. So I think Unai Emery as well is probably a more experienced manager at the higher level compared to Ten Hag and Postecoglou. So that goes in their favour as well. Yeah, look, Savva, I'm not writing off Aston Villa. I'm not writing them off, but I just feel when you've got that Thursday, Sunday, it affects everyone. It always comes to bite you. And if they do go far in that competition, I just don't see how they can maintain it. If they do, hats off to them. Hats off to them. They fully deserve top 4. They really do if they do it. But I think it'll be between Man U and I think it'll be between Spurs, us two.
In terms of the way that Tottenham play, do you think we leave our defence too exposed? Because what I heard for a very long time still was we were only conceding goals because Van der Ven and Romero were out injured. Van der Ven and Romero have been back for a very long time now, and we're still conceding, I believe, on average, something like 2.1 goals a game or something like that since they've been back. I'm not saying they're bad players, but one, do you think we overrated our back 4, how good it is? And 2, do you think that it needs a solid, a proper number 6 that can actually sit in there and sit in front of them?
First of all, I just don't think you can play the way we play without our best 4 at the back. You need Adogi, you need Porro, you need Romero, you need Van der Ven. They have to play. If not, then we're going to be even more exposed. Bissouma now has proven to me he's not a number 6. When you compare him to what Declan Rice does, to what Rodri does, he's not a number 6. There's no way. And by the way, it's not the first time he's lost possession and then we're on the back foot. If you remember, Man City away, Man City's 3rd goal, Bissouma lost possession on the edge of our box trying to dribble past players when he could have just passed it. And number 6 doesn't do that. And number 6 knows this is the dangerous area. Either worst case scenario, clear it out, or there's a pass to my right, feed it, make myself available for a 1-2 if need be, or at least we've begun the transition into the attack. He's not a number 6. It's frustrating because at the start of the season, he looks sublime. He looks so freaking good. And you're thinking, do you know what? He really is a number 6, but he's inconsistent. So you can't play that role. So the high line doesn't quite have the protection it needs.
But he was never an out and out number 6 at Brighton. I think people need to. I think what we've kind of shoehorned him in there. When I watched him play for Brighton, he was never at his best there. He was at his best driving forward with the ball. He was at his best, not scoring goals, but going and giving the ball to the further forward players. For me, I think if we're going to play this style of play, and I'm not saying it's Man City-esque, but if you look at Man City, they can have everyone they want bombing forward because they know that Rodri is going to sit there and control every game from start to finish. They know that Rodri can make the last ditch tackle. They know that he can be the quarterback. They know that he can pop forward and score goals. For me, I still think we're 1 or 2 light in that centre mid area still. I think we've really over-egged how good our midfield options are. That's just me. I'll get called negative, but that's just me.
No, Savva, you're right. We've got one proper number 10, right? Maddison, right? He's a proper number 10.
Yeah.
I don't think we've got a number 6, and we've got about 5 number 8.
yeah. Who are all very different.
The more I watch it play and the way we want to play, I just think we're so overloaded on the 8 and we're lacking as a backup for the 10 and we're lacking for a proper number 6. Like the midfield's so unbalanced. Really unbalanced.
What is the best midfield 3? Because Bentancur came back And look, he had that really good game, or he was having that really good game against Villa until he got the tackle from Cash. Since he's come back, he looks, he's not there. It's not there. I'm not going to knock him, but he's had a year out injured. He's not there. Sarr, for me, is a good midfielder, but for me, isn't good enough on the ball at the moment. He's only young. Bissouma is so erratic. Who do you play there? What's the midfield three? Because Maddison has to start, right? So who?
Look, Maddison's the best number 10 at the club. But Maddison's the best number 10 at the club. When he's fit and healthy and fully functioning, I think Benton calls the best 8. But like you said, he's not right now.
Yep.
So I'm probably looking. I actually thought Lo Celso, during the injury crisis, stepped up. I thought he was playing well for us, and he played well pre-season. But the problem with him is he has 3 good games. You think, right, come on, let's see if you can cement a place in the team. And then he gets an injury. He's out for 3 weeks. You're like, this always happens. Like you're made of glass, man. So he's not reliable enough. So you're probably looking at Bissouma in the 8. And I think the best proper number 6 we've got, and this is going to cause controversy, is Højbjerg. But he doesn't have the technical attributes to play handball. So as a 6, just an out-and-out 6, he was quite good under Jose as a 6. He was actually quite good. But as an out-and-out 6 for this style of play, he doesn't have the technical attributes. So we're kind of stuck. I would probably... Would I go Højbjerg, Benton, Core, Maddison? I'm probably playing Pape Sarr in the 6, Savva, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Probably playing. And I'm not, by the way, I don't think that's... And do you know what's funny? That's what we did at the start of the season, first 10 games. Sarr, Bissouma, Maddison.
Benton, Core. Maddison, yeah. Listen, I think it's interesting, isn't it? And look, I just think what we've seen, and I think it's a good thing. I think because for the fans that got carried away, I think what we've seen recently is a real understanding that we might have some good players, right? And there are some positives at the club. Of course there are. But I think we have seen that there's a lot of work to be done before people want to start talking about challenging the big boys, right? I think we really need people to understand that. I want to move it forward to the summer transfer window because it's 13 games away. I know it sounds ages away, but we're nearly at the end of February. Right? We're 13 games away from that brilliant time for YouTubers where we get to sign players again and have loads of stories. The signings that come in this summer, surely, Stel, and I'm praying more than anything, hoping more than anything, it's got to be established players coming in. It can't be more 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20. It's got to be some established players that come into this club. And surely as a fan base, we've got to not make average signings and then start finding caveats as to why we did it and how we've got no money and we can't afford it and we can't compete. Surely.
Yeah. I don't want to hear words like patience, generational, give it time. I don't want to hear that. We need oven-ready players. Come in and they just start. They hit the ground running within 2-3 games. Like Van der Ven came in, hit the ground running. That's what we need.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be a summer of a mixed bag, Savva. We'll probably get a couple of players that we think, oh, yeah, really good signings. We'll probably get a couple of players where we think, okay, like ones that make people sit on the fence, like a Conor Gallagher. Like it will make fans sit on the fence. I don't know. I'm not sure. And then we'll probably get a couple of players where we'd like, oh, really? I think it'll just be a mixed bag. I don't see us doing what we really need to do. Yeah, like last summer.
You get your Maddisons and your Van der Vens and you go, brilliant. And then you get your Johnsons, your Valises and your Solomons and you go, oh, I don't know. A name you mentioned there, do you know what? A name you mentioned there for me is really, really interesting because do you know what? For all the talk about our midfielders and how good they are, I watch Conor Gallagher every game for Chelsea and think, you know what? Is this guy the most technically blessed footballer I've ever seen? No. But would he be absolutely phenomenal for this gung-ho, 100 miles per hour? Everyone has to track back, run forward. Everyone has to tackle, work hard. He's always available still. Always available for selection. Like, for me, I think Spurs have got to go and get a player like that who maybe isn't the sexiest name. Maybe it's not this sexy foreign player that everyone wants, but a player that you put in and go, he'll be available for midweek. He'll be available at the weekend. He's not made of glass. I think we need someone like that, as well as a Zubimendi type, someone that can put his foot on the ball as well. For me, I'm looking at basically what I'm getting at, Stel, when we talk, people always talk as though we can only buy one player. I think we need to buy 2 or 3 more midfielders one that can control a game, one that can play Ange ball and run around like a headless chicken, but with a bit more quality than Højbjerg. What do you make of that?
I think we might need 4 midfielders. I think we need a 6. I think we need a backup to the 10. And I think we need 2 types of 8. Unless Bentancur comes into form, then you only need 1. Gallagher would be like what Henderson was for Liverpool. Not the best player, but he brings a hell of a lot to that midfield. I think Gallagher potentially could bring that for us. And also, he does pop up with the occasional odd goal. So, again, Savva, I'm not against it. I'm not for it. It's one of those where I look at Gallagher like Vicario. When we signed him, I said, look, man, I really wanted Raya. I don't know who this Vicario is. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Buffon said he's going to be Italy's number 1 one day. I just don't know what we're doing. I'm not sure. And he's proven to be brilliant, or better than what I thought. I think Gallagher will be like that. He'll come in and we'll all be unsure. And then it's down to him to prove, do you know what? Actually, this is actually a really good signing for us. So I look at Gallagher like that. Definitely a Zubimendi type player, 100% we need. You look at the wide areas, we need 2 new wide players, a left and a right. We need 2 out-and-out, proper, attacking wide players that can beat a man, that can deliver a ball to feet, and know how to score goals. And then we need cover for the wing-backs. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3 midfielders, that's 7, so that's 5, 2 wide players, that's 7, and that's to improve the first team. That's to improve the first team. So, and bear in mind, like, you mentioned it weeks ago, we've only played 41 games this season. If we're in Europe next year, plus we do half decent in a cup, we're looking at 55, 60 games next season. If that's the case, just to maintain where we are now, you need 7 players with the extra games we're going to be playing, just to maintain where we are. That's without pushing on. To push on, you're looking at probably 10 to 12 players, Savva, and that's not going to happen in the summer. That's why I said to you, we need 2 more summer windows. We need 2 more summers.
See, listen, I agree, and this is the thing. I think too many people.
Assuming Ange is still here, right? Assuming Ange is still here.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, by the way, before we carry on, please, guys and girls, smash that like button. Only 125 likes. There's 325 of you in here. That means 200 people have not smashed the like button. That is absolutely appalling. We're giving you our time. This isn't a show that makes loads and loads of money. I'm not asking for your money. Smash a like button. It's free. Please get over and subscribe to Stel. Please subscribe to myself. We should be getting 5 or 6 subscribers easily. So smash that button. One of the key things, Stel, I always see is people go, oh, if we just get a number 6 and 2 wingers, we're great. I think people really underestimate how deep a squad you need when you play Europe and go deep into a cup run, because we've struggled with once a week this year. And bearing in mind, Stel, we haven't really played once a week for ages. We're constantly having 2-week, 3-week gaps, right? We've got another one now. Yeah. For me, I think we need a lot to be done. And that's why I keep saying to people, this is going to be years. This is going to be years to get this right.
Yeah, like I said, we need at least 2 more summer windows. I'm just looking at the league table now. As it stands, we're 10 points off the top with 14 games to go. Do you believe we're going to close that gap, or it's going to widen even more?
This season?
More likely. Yeah.
Oh, this season, I think it will widen more, because the others will very rarely drop points in their pursuit of the title. And Spurs, have we seen, have taken 4 points from their last 9 against Everton. Who is it? Everton, Brighton, and Wolves. We took 4 points from Everton, Brighton, Wolves. So yeah, I think we'll end up 17 or 18 points off the title. Right.
So we're currently 10 points off the top. You're saying it'll probably end up being 17. So we've got a 17-point gap to close. Plus, they're in Europe playing those games as well, and we're not. So if fans think 3 signings closes the gap and we play in Europe, it's delusional. It's absolutely, the mind boggles. Like, what are you looking at? What can you not see? 3 players does not close the gap. No. We need at least 6, 7 this summer just for this, for the next season coming up. Plus, I feel that I lost my train of thought there. I've lost my train of thought. Let me see if I've lost my train of thought. I had something I wanted to say and I forgot.
Yeah, no, listen, it's cool. It's cool. We can go in a different direction. I think the key thing for me is I'm looking at Spurs right now playing 1 game a week. I think where we would be if we weren't playing 1 game a week is probably what's happened to Newcastle. And what we've seen, again, Newcastle, we said at the beginning of the season, I remember us doing a show, said that the big thing for Newcastle is, great year last year, brilliant year last year. Now, the difference is if you don't go and buy a squad, if you don't, I'm not saying all in one summer, but if you don't go and buy enough players to rotate it up from Wednesday to Saturday or whatever the days you're playing, you're going to struggle. And I really think that we're going to have that next season because we are going to have Europe. Barring disaster, we will finish in Europe, whether that's Conference League, Europa League or Premier or Champions League, we will get it. But there's going to be a lot of going outs this summer still and a lot of comings in. My worry is because we try to do so much in such a short space of time, my worry is that what we're going to start to see is what you said earlier in the show. If you sign 7 or 8 in the window, 2 or 3 will be good. 2 or 3 will be, 1 or 2 will be really poor or youngsters that just go out on loan. That's my worry, is that we're perpetually in this cycle of loads of signings, but only ever this little bracket of them over here are actually better than what we've got. That's my concern.
Massively. This is why I've been saying this summer we need minimum 7 signings, like minimum. Otherwise, we are going to be in Newcastle next year. That's exactly what's going to happen. I remember what I was going to say as well. I think a lot of fans are in this bubble of where they think next season, just bang, Liz is going to suddenly step up and be the striker. Mikey Moore's going to come out the under 18s or 17s, and he's going to be explosive. And Alfie Devine's going to come back into the squad, and Ashley Phillips will be another good backup that we will have at centre back that's going to be ready to go. And players like the Swedish lad we bought and the Polish lad we bought and all these youngsters that you hear these names of, Santiago's, Dorringtons, you see, look, it's all part of the plan. That's not going to happen, people. I can categorically tell you now that will not happen. If just one of these young kids breaks into the first team, count ourselves lucky.
Yeah.
Don't see how that happens. So,
I'll make it right.
Depending on the youth. I'm not against the youth. I'm not saying we shouldn't bring them in. I'm a youth coach. I'm all for the youth. But I can see what Tottenham are doing, and I can see what we're doing with the youth. It's all smokes and mirrors at the moment. Until a young player puts on a Spurs shirt and puts in a performance where you say, that's a good player, I want to see more of them. Don't hype up any of them and don't put them on a pedestal, because nothing has materialized from the youth. Nothing. And that's the reality.
So you mean like when Liverpool bring in Connor Bradley, who plays at right back, and you're going, who's this kid? That God, he's really good, and then he just stays in the team. Like, you know what I mean? Curtis
Jones, Connor Bradley,
Curtis Jones. Yeah, see, we don't really tend to do that. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Bergvall is coming in. There's a lot of hype around Bergvall. A lot of people, when we signed him, pretended that they've seen every single game of his career since the age of 10 or whatever, and that he's the world's best thing. But it's going to be interesting because he's got to come back into it next year. I hate to break the news to people, but Ndombele is still got another year and 4 months left on his contract.
Oh,
I've got a feeling.
Greg Leon, Jed Spence. There's a lot, Savva. There's a few.
I've got a feeling we're going to be really frustrated this summer. I really do. Still, I think there's so many players that we struggle to get rid of that until we do, we haven't got squad spaces to bring in loads and loads of players. So I think that you're right. What you said at the beginning of the show. Judge Ange mainly at the end of next season. Do you worry? Let's pivot it back to Ange. Do you worry that he's gonna a couple more bad results, and our fans will completely turn on him, how we do in the past.
100%. I've never doubted our inability to point the finger at the board and always pointing at the manager. I've always look. I understand the first 5-6 managers under Levy. I get if fans say, "Look, no, it's not working. Wrong manager." I get it. Once you get to 10 managers, you've got to start questioning: is there a plan at this club? Do you guys have any faith in the manager when things are tricky? When you then get to 15 managers and you've had the likes of Poch, Conte, Harry Redknapp, Mourinho, on that list, you now really have to look at the club as a whole and say, what is it you want, and do you know what you're doing? Ange, when he came in, just remember what everyone said. Be patient. This is a plan. It's going to take time. He's the right man for us. He's an expert at unearthing gems at a lower price that no one's heard of. He fits the Spurs model perfectly. Now we've got FFP in place, profit and sustainability in place. We're ready to take off now.
Yeah.
If our fans turn on Ange, everything they said was a lie. Like, you all lied about everything you said. You didn't mean a freaking word. We can't look, Savva, we cannot turn on another manager. We simply can't do it again. We have got to back one manager at some point under this ownership where we say, you're the manager, you are staying here for 4 years, and we are going to see this plan out, and we are going to back it every summer, even if it's painful, even if we've got doubt. We're going to keep doing it to the end, because that's what we said the plan was, and we said that the reward comes at the end of the plan. If we get rid of him and fans turn on him, for me, forget anything ever going forward with this club. It will never, ever work. Never. That's where I'm at with it.
Let's flip
fans
it.
turning on Ange now, I have no idea. I have no idea why they support Spurs. What for? What are you in it for? I don't get it.
Well, let's flip it. Is there a worry that Ange walks? I don't mean now. We're playing hypothetical in the next couple of years. Is there a worry that this is another manager that will see, well, hang on, this is what's being asked of me versus this is the tools I'm being given. I'm going to walk, because Ange seems to get a lot of plaudits from rival fans as well. There's not millions and millions of great managers out there. So, are we at danger of if a bigger club comes in for him that he walks and suddenly then Levy's got egg on his face?
Look, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe Ange has ever been sacked. I believe he's moved on when he's wanted to. Like, my job's done here. He's handed in his resignation, or he's seen the end of his contract. But he's always done that, having delivered success. Right? It's not like Conte. I won at Inter, but then in the end, he got sacked and walked out. There was a bust up. Or Mourinho got sacked from Chelsea, sacked from Roma. But they won, but they got sacked. I don't think Ange has ever been sacked. I think he leaves on his terms. So my answer to you is yes. If another club sees potential and says, do you know what? He's not really getting the support that we are prepared to give him. Yeah, why wouldn't Ange leave? Why would he not leave? Because history says he leaves when he wants.
And the last thing I want to talk about, I didn't want to go forever.
Hopefully he leaves after success, though, Savvy, yeah? Hopefully he wins us stuff and then goes. But
I mean, we've seen managers leave after success before, but they've come to Spurs and then we don't give them the success. But the last thing I wanted to talk about today was Ange made a comment the other day. And now, listen, it's the same as anything. You can pick out comments from any press conference and sound bites and make of it what you will. But he alluded to not staying at clubs for a very long time. He alluded to it himself that, I normally do 2 to 3 years and then I move on. Now, loads of Spurs fans are like, oh my God, give this guy a 10-year contract. He's going to be brilliant. And he's going to build something. And in 5 years, he's going to win. Doesn't it then go against everything where you've got all of those people that pretend they know Ange and he does that, but then he comes out himself and mentions leaving in 2 to 3 years? What did you make of that comment?
Well, I think the context of the question was that he was asked a question about his career or him as a manager. He said, "Look, I normally hang around clubs 2-3 years, whatever.
Yeah.
I feel anything more, it doesn't work for me. And the days of managers being at clubs for a long, long time, you know, are gone." I think he was having a conversation about it, but
Yeah.
look, because it's Spurs, because we're so petrified of what happens with managers at this club, when a manager says that, we're like, oh, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. Are you leaving?
Is that code? Is that code? He's trying to send us a message, right?
It's like if your girlfriend texts you, "We need to talk when I get in." You go, "What do you mean by that? What do we need to talk about? What's going on?"
Yeah. What have I done? What have I done?
What have I done? Yeah.
Who told you? Who's told you something?
Yeah. They're lying. Whoever it is, they're lying.
Yeah. Just someone's cheated. I don't believe Ange will be here more than 3 years. I think he'll be here 3 years max. I don't see him being here longer than that. I'd like him to be here for a long time, winning us trophies, and the club completely changes from what we know it to be. I think he'll be here about 3 years. I think if he doesn't win a trophy in the third season, which is why I said season 25-26, judge him that season, I think even he will want to go because he's not used to not achieving in the second or third season. I think even for him, I think he's a big enough man to say, "Do you know what? I've come, I've done this.
Yeah.
I can't push anymore. This is where we're at."
The problem for me is, right, and I say the problem for me, I've calmed down so much about Spurs in recent years in terms of like beliefs of what's going to happen, etc. But if it doesn't work with Ange, and I guess when I say that, I've got to not be contradictory because it depends what I mean or what you mean or what anyone means when they say work. If it doesn't work, but if this is yet another manager in 2-3 years' time where it kind of ends badly and we haven't won anything, where does the club go with? Where do we go? Because by then we would have had everyone. You've had project managers. I hate to say those terms. Project managers win that. You've had all sorts of managers: new, young, old, experienced, winners, not winners, good with the youth, bad with the youth. You know, and nothing would have seemed to work. Where does the club go if this doesn't work? Because for me, I'm hearing too many worrying things already.
I don't trust Levy, and I don't trust our fan base. I don't trust our fans to have the patience for what is needed. I don't. I've seen the fans; they've turned on everyone, and I won't be surprised one bit if they turn on Ange. And as for Daniel Levy, I'm not convinced. The worry for me, Savva, the moment where I said, "Shit," in the summer when we signed Brennan Johnson, I wasn't worried about that because every club makes a mistake. Man United bought Mason Mount for 60 million, Anthony for 80 million, Arsenal bought Kai Havertz for 65 million. Pep, when he first went to Man City, got rid of what was his name? The England goalie. He came to Spurs for a bit as well.
Oh, Joe Hart.
Yeah, he got rid of Joe Hart, brought in a goalkeeper. That goalie didn't work. Within a year, got rid of him, made it, you know, everyone makes a mistake. I stick by what I say. Brennan Johnson is a mistake. We shouldn't have signed him. I'm not worried about that because most of the signings were good. I think Dragusin is better than any other centre-back as a third choice we've ever had. So we've got 3 centre-backs. The alarm bells for me was Timo Werner. And the reason is we desperately needed more goals in the attacking lineup and a proper wide player. Timo Werner for me is the German version of Danjuma. It's a Danjuma signing. When I saw that, I thought, oh no, that is not the direction to take us for the rest of this season. And that is not the direction the club's going to go in. If he signs in the summer, Timo Werner, I know it's not going to work with Ange because that is a repetition of the details that have failed every manager before. It's things like that that will cost managers. So that's where that was the moment I got worried with this process. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
And that stinks of a Daniel Levy signing. That stinks of, we're not going to spend money, get something on the cheap, get it short term, make it sound like it's going to work. We know it's not, right? We know I know Timo Werner's not going to work, but the fact that that's still happening is why I still don't trust the board, and I have concerns for the manager, because I believe a strong manager will say, I'm not accepting that. That does not work for my plan. Ange must have accepted it. He must have said, all right, we haven't got 30 million to spend on a wide player. We've only got 5 million quid. He's the best one you can find. All right, I'll take it. That worries me.
I mean, yeah, look, just to round off the show, I think the key thing that worries me is I'm like you. Look, I don't know if people realise this, but since Ange has come into the club, he has signed off on Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner, Solomon and Valise. He signed off on 5 strikers, stroke wide forwards, wingers, whatever you want to call them. My worry is if you had said there was 4 really good ones and a Brennan Johnson and a Valise, maybe 3 really good ones, a kid like Valise and a Brennan Johnson, you go, all right, you got one wrong.
Take it.
Right?
Yeah.
My worry is that from all 5 of those, I don't care if any of those 5 are not at Tottenham Hotspur next season. That's the difference. I don't care if any. I'm not fighting to keep Kulu. Decent player, yeah, he's all right, but I wouldn't die on a hill to fight for him. Werner has got to go. Brennan Johnson is poor. Solomon, I mean, listen, this is a guy that couldn't.
We don't even know.
We don't know, but this is a guy that couldn't even guarantee himself a place in the Fulham team, right? And then the other one is Valise, who is an 18-year-old kid. My worry is that we're signing off on players again that are very, very average, but then people thinking that it's different this time. And when I saw Maddison being signed, I thought, yeah, that better. That's it. When I saw Van der Ven, I'd seen Van der Ven. I was like, really like this guy. Yeah, he's got something about him. Then when you started to see, oh, okay, him. Oh, and him. Oh, him. Then when you get to January, this was the key thing for me. It was the Werner signing, and it was our fan base, not all of it, some of it, almost doing that thing where we go into complete denial mode about who we had all said we wanted and the type of player we need. And then everyone starts celebrating Timo Werner as the best we could get. That was the moment for me. I realised nothing's changing here. Nothing is changing here.
I think the nail in the coffin was signing Timo on a free and not spending money on a half-decent wide player at the same time you're announcing you're the richest club in London and only you can buy players in January because you've got the business model right. It's almost like, ta-da, we're rich. There's Timo. You know, it's like you've who's a hot woman that exists nowadays? Think of someone really hot who's famous, right? And she says to you, Savva, you're my man, but she refuses to sleep with you. What's the point of being with you, right? What's the point of all this money if you're going to give me Timo?
Look, that's the thing for me.
She'll hold your hand. She'll hold your hand.
Too much I hear of is, well, let's see what we do in the summer. And I know it's a line I always use it because it's kind of like a default. We'll see what we do in the summer. And I kind of already, my worry is I feel like I know we're going to get to the summer and we're going to do this dance again. I know we're going to do this dance where everyone goes, you know what we need? We need a Vlahovic, just for example. And then what we'll do is buy some 19-year-old striker that no one's heard of or is good on Football Manager. And then people go, oh, well, if Ange wants him, I want him. All of a sudden, all the players that everyone said, well, if Ange wants, I want, they're not performing. And all of a sudden it's, oh, well, Ange isn't doing it. It's like, well, hang on. Anyway, I don't know anymore, mate. I don't know. But listen,
can I ask you a question, Savva?
Yeah.
I'll ask something about the summer, right? Do you honestly think Spurs will sign a striker? As in, and not just a striker like, you know, an unknown, you know, French bloke, age 23 from Bordeaux. Do you think we will sign a striker to come in and be a proper number 9 at this club who can do well in all games, not just like Richarlison, who steps up against the lower level teams.
Mate, I'd love to think we will, but I mean, we've been calling out for a top striker to be signed for about a decade. And the excuse we had for years was no one will play second fiddle to Harry Kane. Right? We're now in a position where we don't have Harry Kane. We don't have an out and out. For me, I don't believe that anyone at our club is an out and out centre forward that scares the crap out of defenders. I think Sonny obviously is for me is a very good forward that can finish. But in terms of a centre forward that can do the things that Ivan Toney does, that can do what Ollie Watkins does, that can do what Vlahovic does, I think we need one. Do I believe we'll get one, Stel, which was your question? I don't believe it will be anyone of any ilk. I believe it will be another player that we will end up kidding ourselves as a collective that, if this works, if he comes good, we've bought him for 3 years' time. That's what I believe we'll do. What we should be doing is trying to get rid of a Richarlison for 40, 50 million, if anyone will pay that, which I can't believe they would, and going out and saying, we're going to make a statement here. We're going to go and bid for an Ivan Toney, for a Vlahovic, for an Osman, for I don't know, whoever, a Jimenez. But I don't believe that we've got that fight in us to go toe to toe with a top club or top clubs for a top player.
Yeah.
I'm not talking Mbappe's before, because what I'll do is, I know still, when this show finishes, I know what I'll get in my chat is people going, oh, Savva thinks we can sign world-class players. No, Savva doesn't. But should we be able to get a Santiago Jimenez? Yes.
Yes, we should. Yeah.
Yes, we're the richest club in London. We moved to this stadium for these very reasons, right? So, look, I'd love to think, I've been saying this for 23 summers. It never happens. I'm waiting for it to happen. Who was the last good forward we bought? That could be a winger or a striker. Son?
Yeah, Son. Yeah.
9 years ago, Son?
Yeah. Before him, probably Berbatov.
Doesn't that sum it all up completely? In the last 9 years, what we've watched is a mixtures of Llorentes, Janssens, Lucas Moura's, Bergwijn's, and Kudus, and Vinicius. That's what we've been watching. That's what we've been watching the club buy. But listen, to go to the next level, which has got to be the aim. It's got to be the aim now. There's no more excuses still. We've been in the stadium for 5 years, right? They've got deals with boxing, with concerts, with whatever. We're the richest club in London, if not one of the richest clubs in world football. We're going to have European football. They've run out of excuses. Fans surely now have got to stop letting them have excuses. There needs to be, this summer needs to be the summer where they go out and we all go, oh, wow, they bought him. Yeah. What I want to be at, I know I've ranted a little bit the last 2 minutes. What I want to be at is I want to be in a position where this summer we turn around and go, well, they've given the manager what he needs. Now it's over to you, manager. That's what I want to be in a position to say. You got what you need.
See, you know what? It's interesting you say that. I can honestly say, under any manager at Spurs in the last 20 years, 30 years, I've never been able to say, you kind of got what you need here. It's over to you. I've never, ever been able to say that. I've always been able to say, you've got 8 or 9 really good first team players. You've got 8 or 9 very good players that start for you. But that's it. I've never been able to say you've got 16, 17 players here as a squad where you really should be doing something now. I've never been with any manager. I've never been able to say that ever.
Yeah. Well, listen, I completely agree with you. By the way, just will say, Tom81, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Big up to you, Tom. And listen, thank you very much to everybody who liked, everyone who subscribed. We'll be back next week. Stel, thank you very much for giving me an hour and 19 minutes of your day. Thank you very much.
No, good show. Enjoyed it. I will end on this note. I do believe come the end of the season, I think Spurs will. I was going to say, I think the lowest we'll finish is 5th this season. It'll be 4th or 5th.
Mhm.
I don't see us dropping outside of 4th and 5th. I do. I think Spurs will be top 5 this season, no doubt in my mind. I think we will. Top 5.
Yeah,
Hopefully 4th. But 4th or
I don't
5th.
think it's bad.
That's a half decent start. It's a half decent. It's a good start. It's a good start from where we were.
Yeah. It's good. I just don't think it's as good as what many painted out to be. But listen, what I will say is, thank God, at least Mbappe didn't go to Arsenal like all the Arsenal fans were telling us he was going to join. So if anyone hasn't seen the news today, that Mbappe is going to be joining Real Madrid for just a small signing on fee of £150 million. It's almost not a free transfer, is it? It's not a free transfer when you're paying.
I'm really, really shocked that he's gone to Real Madrid. I didn't see that coming, Savva. Didn't see it coming.
Really?
No, I'm being sarcastic.
Oh, I was going to say,
so bloody obvious.
Yeah,
people saying to me, other clubs are going to bid in, and Arsenal going to hijack. Shut up. There's only one club he was going to. Elite players end up at the elite clubs, right?
Yeah. It works out apparently to something like £1 million. When you look at the signing on fee, it works out to literally like £1 million a week or something. It's absolute crazy money.
Half of that money will be recouped in the first week on kit sales with the word Mbappe on the back around the globe. So
of course
they've done the numbers.
Yeah,
they've crunched the numbers.
Remember when Angus said, "Why not? Why won't he sign for Arsenal? He's an Arsenal fan." Anyway, we're gonna love you and leave you there. Guys and girls, I'll be back tonight for it's kind of a Man City Brentford watch along, but we'll also be doing the Champions League games. You've got 2 cracking games tonight: PSV versus Borussia Dortmund, and then the big one tonight for me is Inter Milan versus Atletico Madrid. 2 very good teams, 2 very good managers. So join us for that. Stel, thank you very much. I'll see you on Thursday night for Spurs Unleashed. Guys, I'll see you tonight for the watch along, or tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for a morning with Savva. Take care, everyone. And as always, come on, you Spurs.